All right, Ajuri Ngelale, the Senior Special Assistant to the President on Public Affairs, is joining me right now. So we will coast till the end of the show. The plane will land 5 minutes to 12. Ajuri, welcome on board. Former colleague, congratulations. Of course, I've told you congratulations before. Congrats on your appointment.
Thank you, my sister, and we shall land safely.
We shall land safely. Now, where should we start from, Ajuri? Let me allow you a bit. Let me give you 30 seconds.
Okay.
Speak to me about what the president is doing that perhaps Nigerians don't know, or perhaps Nigerians misunderstand. Let me allow you fly.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, look, we are not wearing rose-colored glasses when it comes to the economy. We recognize that there are issues that need to be addressed. What we're asking Nigerians to do is to take stock of where we were and the progress that's been recorded in the last 4 years, so that when we're talking about the next 4 years, we're not just making pie-in-the-sky promises, but we're saying, look, we've done this verifiably, and we want to escalate this to the next level. I would really pinpoint backward integration as a major policy thrust that I think kind of goes across sectors. Let me just take a look as a case study, the cotton, textiles, and garment sector. In the 1980s, it was the second largest employer of labor in the nation. Over the last 20 to 30 years, it has completely fallen off. Textile mills have been cut off from gas supply. The charges for gas have been tremendous. Our cotton farmers, because the textile mills have not been off-taking cotton supplies, the farmers have now said, we're not going to do cotton anymore because it's not profitable. So they go into cashew and other commodities. What we've now seen since 2015 is the president instructed through the Central Bank of Nigeria for cotton farmers across 26 cotton producing states to receive 45,000 metric tons of new cotton seedlings. Now that has essentially brought up production at the farm level. Now he's connected textile mills in the west and increasingly now even in the north to Escravos gas terminal in the south to now power the textile mills. He has slashed the price of gas to textile mills from $8 per 1,000 cubic feet to now $4, 50%, $4 per 1,000 cubic feet. That has now brought the textile mills back into productivity and profit making. But the key now is at the policy level. He's taken care of the first two levels. Now at the policy level, he has mandated through the Bureau of Public Procurement that there is now a ban on the importation of CTG materials, textiles, for all public MDAs, whether it's public hospitals, public schools, uniforms, all the branches of the security agencies, Navy, Air Force, Army, all of them now are mandated to sign long-term contracts with Nigerian indigenous textile mills that will be supplied solely by Nigerian cotton farmers. So this is the kind of backward integration we've seen in CTG. We expect that is going to add 2 million jobs to the Nigerian economy within the next 4 years, but that's just one example. The same is happening in defense with the capitalization of the Defense Industries Corporation of Nigeria, DICON. Essentially, in every step of the way, we're trying to ensure that the supply is coming from Nigeria, and for the first time in our history, we are now trying to finish products instead of sending out exporting raw products and importing finished products at 3 times the rate, when we can actually produce and finish products locally and export and make huge earnings across sectors.
Now, the question is, with all those policies, especially coming even from the Monetary Authority, which you've mentioned, the CBN, in terms of their policy around not just even cotton and garment, but along 10 key commodities, including livestock and all of that, creating about 2 million jobs in that cotton sector. The president also said during the June 12th speech he made that he intends to pull out 100 million people out of poverty in 10 years. Do you think he's on track? That's one. And does the president, since you work for him now, talk to Nigerians about the pulse of the president in terms of how Nigerians are feeling? Because you're also a Nigerian, you have people that work with you, people that also get back to you. For every Nigerian, I say perhaps there's an average of 5 to 10 dependents. Is the president perturbed with the level of hardship, economic hardship? Because I said earlier to my guest, even to the central bank people, 1.9% GDP growth rate is not good for the country of close to 200 million people, no matter how you look at it. Is the president perturbed? And my first question, so 2 questions in one, because I know we're running, time.
Well, very quickly, let me just say that I don't even need people to tell me what's going on because I'm on the ground. As I speak to you, I have to put diesel in my generator. I have to do the same things that Nigerians have to do when power goes out. I have to switch over. We go through the same things. And so, you know, look, if the president wasn't perturbed at some of the situations unfolding in the country as it relates to the economy and trying to get Nigerians involved in the economy, included in the economy, so that we have inclusive growth rather than the kind of 7% growth we were having in the past from oil revenues that weren't reflected in any jobs being created. He would not have just taken the recent step, for example, to put in place the Economic Advisory Council, trying to see what more can be done with professionals who haven't even necessarily always agreed with the positions of the All Progressives Congress as a party. You have people from PDP, people from different areas who've come together as a think tank to see what more can be added to what's already going on. But to your question, when we talk about how he's going to achieve what he's going to achieve in terms of pulling 100 million people out of poverty in 10 years, it's a multifaceted approach. I've only touched on backward integration using CTG as a case study. We're doing the same thing in agriculture. Right now, there's a deal with the Brazilian government that is essentially our agriculture mechanization program, because we realize that if we're going to be the food basket of not just this continent, but potentially to export to other continents at large, then it's going to require for us to enhance efficiency with the hands that we have currently to really make the best of our arable lands. So what we're doing is we're setting up over the course of the next 4 years, and we're saying it publicly so Nigerians will hold us to account in 2023, is that we're going to, in every local government of this country, build a service center. That's 774 service centers that are essentially going to be involved in providing extension services to farmers across all the values, all the commodity groupings. That's going to be one side. Then we're also going to be using these centers to also facilitate mechanization. We have a deal not just with the Brazilian government to that effect, but also with John Deere, an agricultural equipment manufacturer from the United States. An MOU was signed when President Buhari visited President Trump in the White House last year. And all of this, this mechanization effort, we are projecting 5 million to 6 million new jobs alone, just from mechanization. It's going to be sustainable. In addition to that, we're also going to put 100,000 of our N-Power graduates that are under the N-Power Agric scheme. We are deploying data capture systems to 100,000 of them. They are going to go around this country, every part of this country, and capture every smallholder farmer, which is estimated right now across commodities at about 70 million smallholder farmers. We're going to capture them uniquely, and the whole purpose isn't just to capture them into a database. It's to ensure that we know who is producing what, where, at what quantity, and how can we link them to the extension services they need to expand their operations and create more jobs by employing more Nigerians to that effect. And also, how can we create linkage points in terms of infrastructure, rural roads, that will open up the smallholder farmers to new markets in different parts of the country. These are all things that are going on in a very coordinated fashion between the Minister of Works, Babatunde Fashola, and the CBN and all of the value chains across sectors.
Now, you agree. I think we have 46 sectors of the economy, but just about 4 are giving us, you know, the kind of growth we're seeing right now. Yeah, so that means that we have a Nigeria that is underutilized.
Absolutely.
46 minus 4, that gives you, I think, 42. So we have manufacturing, we have agri, then I think we have telecoms. If you even take a look at this 4, they are not, you know, where they should be. Even, yes, the last GDP figures released and talking about the sectors, some of them doing, even with the interventions in all of that.
I'm so glad you brought that up, because there are a few things. We have never, let me not say never, let's say from the 1960s and 70s, we have not had any real, tangible, proper effect of the solid minerals contribution to the nation's GDP. What we're currently doing is, in solid minerals, you're aware of the Nigeria incentive-based risk-sharing system for agricultural lending, NERSAL. That essentially, for our viewers, has de-risked lending to the agric sector, so that the actors involved in that sector can get funding from banks, and banks have the assurance that what they're lending is going to be safely brought back to them. We're doing the same thing now in solid minerals for the first time. We are revising the Solid Minerals Development Fund, and we're essentially putting in a NERSAL type of risk-sharing system for solid minerals development and lending. That is going to ensure that we de-risk the value chains so that banks and private sector lenders, etc., private sector individuals can come in with their money and know that their investments in that sector are going to be safe. That's just one leg of it. On the other side of it, we're going to establish 6 buying centers. These are standardization points within the solid minerals sector. Every geopolitical zone is going to have a buying center, which is going to bring in all the artisanal miners from the smallest level to the top level. They're going to bring in their goods. We're going to standardize them with our processing units within the buying centers and ensure that those artisanal miners who have essentially been exploited and really dealt with abusively by foreign expatriates in the sector are now going to be, we can measure what it is they're producing and also ensure that the operators who are employing them are paying them what they're owed, and also to ensure that we have standardization centers that will ensure that we're exporting finished products that are qualitative according to world-class standards. So those 2 measures alone are going to create millions of jobs within the solid minerals sector and add a kind of sanity that we haven't had before. Now, you touched on manufacturing. One of the areas where I think Nigerians may not be familiar with what is happening just because it doesn't get a lot of press is that in 2016, our manufacturing contribution to GDP was minus 4.2, negative. We were declining, we're recessing. Right now in 2018, last year, it grew to 2.1%. So we're now in a positive growth. We're projecting that by 2023, and look, that is going to go up to 8%. But it's not just percentages on paper. We're seeing factories. The Suntai sugar plant in Niger State is employing thousands of Nigerians. That came on board in 2016. You see Rongsheng in Edo State, for example, a new glass processing factory in Edo State that's creating jobs there. There are countless stories of, if you go to the Presidential Office of Digital Engagement online PODE under Tolu Ogunlesi, you're going to see several industries that have come into this country since 2016 because of the policy put in place by the federal government that essentially said we're going to ban the imports of these items. So we're going to restrict it, make it difficult to achieve high profits with imported goods, and in return we're going to encourage investors by waiving the duties on equipments that they would now bring into the country to build factories. Those 2 strategies have brought in industries across sectors that are now employing Nigerians, and we think that is going to build to a point where we can have an inclusive economy that's built on job creation and not on false bloated figures of oil and gas revenues that aren't employing our people. Okay,
Ajuri, we just have like a minute, and let's bring in people that have been tweeting that are watching the show. Let's see if we can just take 2 questions. Ose Anene says, in the past 4 years, we have implemented Buharinomics, an anti-free market, quasi-socialist economic model. He's asking to know if this signals a new policy direction, especially with the EAC that has been put in place. The second question coming on Twitter from Honorable Minister is, good morning, my question for Ajuri, what is the government's plan on student loan scheme in making education affordable to all and in advancing financial inclusion as practiced in advanced countries? There are a lot of comments coming through, but let's just take this 2 quickly.
Well, okay, let me just start with the first question, which has to do with the fact that, yes, it is true that the president is very much fixated on the notion of social justice and how we can apply that to the economy. I would say to that point, in the next 4 years, one of the things we want to do is we really want to build on what has already been an unprecedented success in the social investment programs. 9.8 million school children being fed every day in about 32 states of the Federation. Obviously 1.7 million in market money, farmer money, and trader money, seeing interest-free loans, etc., to expand their businesses, 300,000 in conditional cash transfer. Each one is going to be escalated in the next level. But to the point, we are introducing the People Money Bank. This is going to essentially broaden the scope of what we've done in farmer money, trader money, and market money, increase the sums involved, and make sure that more Nigerians can come in. So in practical terms, hairdressers, car mechanics, plumbers, carpenters, tailors, keke operators, taxi operators, you name it. Every Nigerian who has a small and medium scale enterprise that can be audited and found to be credible upon audit, and as a Nigerian citizen, will be eligible of loans up to a ceiling of 1 million naira in interest-free capital. You know what
came to my mind, Ajuri, it's just that we don't have enough time. Perhaps you will come back. With this People Bank that you just announced,
People Money Bank,
People Money Bank, Doesn't it also go against the DBN that has been created, the Development Bank of Nigeria, that gives small businesses, you know? But we're running out of time.
I know. I need to come back.
The
DBN deals with more of the medium scale enterprises.
But they give to microfinance banks which do on lending to this month.
This is the challenge, my sister, is that the pool is limited. What DBN has available to them. When you're, okay, so if DBN is lending, let me just give you an example, 30 million naira to an MSME, right? 30 million naira is a huge chunk of cash to go to one enterprise. So what we're now saying is we need to get more individuals involved at a localized level, because in the people money scheme, we're looking at 10 million Nigerians, 10 million, and it's not starting at $1 million, it's ending at $1 million. So you start with 100,000, you pay that back, you build to 250, you build to 500, then you advance to $1 million. If we do that, we are trusting that if we invest in our people, they're going to be employing other Nigerians, and that's our bet.
I think that's how we're landing this morning.
Safe landing.
Safe landing. Ajuri, just like you said, you will come back.
Sure.
Because a lot of questions that I also need to ask.
Please.
You know, and Nigerians are also asking. But many
we need to be held to account. We want to be held to account.
You know, thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
And I wish you well.
Thank you,
I wish also this administration well, because the Herculean task.
Economic
The issues are too many.